Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to the Reality Roundup. Today we're going to be talking about The Challenge, Season 40, Battle of the Eras, Episodes 6 and 7, because
You
our
don't want to tell the
girl.
people to like, comment, and subscribe?
Well, I wasn't done yet.
Oh, okay.
So we missed last week for
Hmm.
our typical uploads because the girl Helene came through, knocked my power out. So I
Hmm.
was without power on the weekend over the days that we filmed, and we just postponed it a week because that's what worked best for the both of us. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share to
Yes.
help us out as we try to grow this thing, please, and thank you. But we are going to include our recap of episode 6 together instead of doing a dedicated episode for episode 6. I think this worked out fine because I feel like both of these episodes were kind of boring. Uh, so we can knock them out one shot and then hopefully get back to some more exciting gameplay next week. But how are you, Maddie?
I'm doing just fine.
Okay.
Point of edit for you, or not point of edit, but point of reference for you. I will be away the weekend of the 18th. Um,
Oh.
yes, we'll have to figure that out.
That's fine. We'll figure it out. But you guys stay tuned. We are gonna, after we upload this, we will have the first episode of our recaps of this season's of Netflix's Love Is Blind. So check the channel for our thoughts on that. And as we try
Can
to
we
work
record
in.
the day of the 18th? It's a
Mhm.
Friday.
Mhm.
Because I
That's what I was gonna discuss off air.
No, it's fine because I was looking at my calendar from a distance and I realized that I took that day off, but I don't fly until that evening. So
Okay. Yeah, we can do it. Yeah, so that'll work for us. So please stay tuned. Check the channel for our Love Is Blind recaps, and then also stay tuned for the Traders U.S. Season 3 coming up as well too. I know they're filming the Traders or they're airing the Traders Canada right now, but we won't be watching that. uh,
boo, Canada, boo.
Boo, Canada, America first, baby. All right, let's get started. Episode 6. So this episode was called My Real Friends Era, right? My Real Friends Era. Am I
Child,
making
I
that
don't
up?
never write down the
I don't
episode
know if
name.
I don't know if I flipped them. I may have because I
I feel like I don't need my list of names anymore. I'm very proud of myself.
oh for the people.
Yes. But I do like checking them off on my little spreadsheet. So let me do it's not a spreadsheet, it's a freaking PDF. Let me do that.
All right, let's get started. My Real Friends Era. Um, boring episode, but you know what made it real boring for me? Casey starting the episode out talking about Jenny only talks about boring stuff when you're Casey. Girl, that's your whole reputation. What do you talk about, Casey, if it's not working out in Nani? Please.
I literally wrote, I love Jenny so much now.
I
My
like Jenny a
first
lot.
two thoughts from episode 6, I love Jenny so much now. And then I literally wrote, I always forget Casey is there.
You and everyone who watches the show, longtime fans of this show, forget Casey. This is like her thing every season she's been on. Girl, you're not the one to be making these sorts of criticisms.
No.
Josh and Tori, we get a brief clip of them doing their secret villain handshake, discussing their vacation alliance that apparently doesn't exist and is not a real alliance, but has
That
a
was so
handshake
funny.
and gang sign signage along with the handshake is crazy work.
They were doing a lot there.
And Johnny's in trouble because she didn't volunteer.
Oh,
And
oh yeah, you're right.
we
You're right.
see Johnny plant the seeds of his later shenanigans. He's concerned about Devin and Michelle getting as close as they've gotten. Um,
He seems so angry about this.
yeah, this was classic Johnny. I will say this episode was classic, classic bananas gaslighting. I loved it a little bit.
Okay.
I ain't gonna lie.
Of course you did. Of course you did.
It was funny only because it was Michelle. And then Kara lets us know. Like I'm running through real quick, like because I'm trying to get to the challenge. Unless you have thoughts um, in that little area pre-challenge, but
No, I just said not the of vacational villain alliance handshake.
yeah.
Um uh something about Johnny's childhood trauma being like doing a lot in that moment in that edit. And then I just wrote the vaping LOL because the vaping always takes
Oh,
me
I
out.
never catch it. Like you say this a lot, but I'm sure everyone is, but like I never see
It's
it.
literally so funny to me because they try to be so secretive about it, and then there's just like a cloud.
Okay, so we get to the challenge, and I mean, Kara immediately tells us that she's not going to throw the challenge. I feel like that was a bad idea,
To
but
to throw or to not throw?
to not throw, bad
Oh
idea.
yes. What is
And
it
this was
called? The
one of those
cloud
ones
catcher?
that, yeah, this was one of those ones that's easy to throw. Oops, I'm so clumsy. My balloon just keeps popping. Like,
Hello, exactly.
oops, I'm so like. Anyway, so let's talk about the challenge. The challenge is called Cloud Catchers or
Hmm.
Cloud Catcher. I'm sorry. And they have to move these really really large balloons,
Hmm.
helium balloons, through an obstacle.
That seemed to be made out of hopes and dreams.
Yeah, through an obstacle course to get it to a attach it to a flag, and then
Hmm.
once they have gotten all of their each team starts with a set number of balloons. Or I mean, I think, yeah, no, they're color coded. Yes. So each team starts with a certain number of balloons.
They were color coded.
Yeah, they were attached to like little podiums that had their team color on it. So they had to
Oh,
go
oh, oh.
take their
See, you
specific
answered a
balloons.
question for me because I thought when I
You
first
were
heard the instructions that they were supposed to get enough balloons to
to lift
physically
it.
raise the
That's what I
thing.
thought too. And then I saw that they were colored. But so yeah, this was really confusing, and that's why I wrote the rules down. So the first team to finish with the most intact balloons wins. So it's not just about finishing first
Okay.
and speed through the course. It's about getting the most balloons through without popping. And like Maddie said, these
Mm.
balloons would pop at a whisper. They had to go through an obstacle course essentially where they went through this ridge, climbed out of it, and then went through like a, I wouldn't say gazebo looking thing, but it had like
Yeah, definitely a
spikes
gazebo.
on the inside. So as you're trying to get through with your balloon, they could hit
Maybe a
the
pergola, if you will.
pergola. Thank you. It could hit one of the spikes and pop there. That was
Those
like,
spikes were so sinisterly
I
placed.
know, it was good.
I'm so sorry, but it was so funny to see the pergola and the spikes just being like bam, bam, bam.
Yeah,
I was
on
like,
all
oh my
sides too,
God.
even on top. I'm like, dang, no refuge. Like,
Yeah. They were like, you better
and the
crawl through the
balloons
dirt with
were
this
so
balloon.
big. They were so
So
inflated.
big.
They honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if each of those balloons were like 30 pounds of just air sitting in those.
Literally. And they were again made out of like literally thoughts and dreams.
So in this challenge, I mean, it was a pretty boring challenge. The most exciting thing that happened, and it's a hard challenge to like watch and gauge too, because the rules are a little confusing, because your thought is like retrieve all of your balloons first, or retrieve as many of your balloons first, but that's not really the game. The game isn't about speed, it's about the amount of balloons that you get through safely.
Hmm.
So if you and another team go, if a team finishes before you but you have more balloons than them, you win basically.
But
And
wait a minute. How do you finish though then? How do you know you finish?
when all of your balloons are either attached or popped. So when you have no more balloons to
Oh
retrieve.
my gosh.
Yeah, so let's
Okay,
say
that went over
yeah.
my head.
Yeah, so let's say each team had like 50 balloons out there in that field. Your goal is to get as many of those 50 safely through the obstacles and attached to your flag. And that's really your only goal. And then in the case that like you and another team all get 50, then it would come down to who finished fastest. So you want to consider speed, just because if you are tied with someone, then speed would be a factor. But it seemed like it really didn't matter. And also, like, people's balloons were popping, just blowing in the wind.
They
Like,
were,
yeah.
yeah. So
So
that, but that makes a lot more sense that you say that because that was something that was confusing to me and why I thought that the balloons had to raise the platform
hmm
and like you just had to get enough to raise the platform. I thought this was like a counterbalance weight situation. So that makes a whole
yeah, that
bunch
was
more
really confusing.
sense.
They shouldn't have even included that little thing. Like, that was just so
No.
unnecessary. Style, like, it was style, no substance on that.
Yeah.
And so we start and we see like era 3. Well, Jordan specifically, his strategy was just to run through as fast as possible, which ended up proving not to be the correct strategy, right? Because you couldn't have as much
His little
control.
jump across the gorge was
Yeah, and he
so
didn't even make it.
stupid.
I mean, he was going for cool points, and he didn't make it all the way
It was
across.
embarrassing.
Embarrassing. Derek broke his leg. You know, Derek isn't. I feel like they didn't need like when Derek hurt his leg. That's all. And I was like, y'all didn't need this local warriors. This was kind of cruel. Y'all know y'all got some old biddies out here.
Derek and his, not to spoil episode 7, but Derek's leg is still not doing
yeah,
well.
yeah. I mean, he must be getting cleared by medical to continue like participating, or else they would have sent
His
his.
scream scared me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it sounded like the sound effect even
Bad.
it was like bone crushing like yeah, it was
Bad.
I don't even think this is a thing where you're like, "Oh man, what a tough guy. Look at him hobbling up there." I was just like, "Go sit down." Like go sit down. This looked
Yes.
crazy. Um and I don't think he really was much of a help anyway hobbling on one leg. It was just kind of like, "Oh, he's going to tough it out for us." He probably got
Mm-hmm.
two balloons in the time that everybody else was able to retrieve six. Um but I think the strategy that kind of seemed to work the best was Era 4, which was just slow and steady, and just stay ahead of
Mm-hmm.
Era 1. That was their strategy essentially.
I know.
Era 1 couldn't like we say couldn't buy a bucket. They couldn't buy a balloon. Like their balloons would just pop when somebody looked at it wrong. They like there was one where Brad just like takes a step. He doesn't even like touch anything. It's like pop. Like oh my god, they're so
Era
unfortunate.
1 is so cursed, and it makes me
Yeah.
so sad because you know I love them.
Like I didn't
I have a
have them
question.
performing well compared to the other teams, but I didn't have them like last place every
Every
single
time.
time. Like that's crazy. That's
My
a really important. Like,
babies.
cause this isn't even one of those things where it's like athleticism, like da 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 da. It's like they just were very unfortunate. Um,
Yeah. We have like, for those of you listening and not watching, we both have two faces of kind of on
Yeah,
because poor
grimace,
Era 1
grimacing.
grimacing.
But Era 3 did finish first, so they get well. They attached the balloons. Era 3 and Era 2, are both sort of bringing their last balloons at the same time. They attach their balloons sort of at the same time, and then they get a riddle to solve. Which the riddle was, "I'm always hungry. I must always be fed. The finger I touch will soon be red." Um, and
Fire.
Banana said pasta. They were looking for a four
Did he
letter.
really?
Yeah, they were looking for a four-letter word in which each letter corresponded to a
That's just
number on a.
five word letters.
I know. Yeah, there was even a nice little visual gag about it that like only the first four letters fit in the box, and then the A and it was like, and like a buzzer went off. Um,
Bananas.
but yeah, the answer was fire. Era 3 gets it and finishes first. Era 2 is right behind them. I mean, they may as well have finished at the same time because it seemed like they both got the riddle solved like at exactly the same moment, and Era 3 just inputted the code a little faster. Um, and then Era 4 finishes a little while after that, and then Era 1, of course, is bringing up the rear and finishes in last. Now, this is where
Bananas.
like when they were like this is where I actually understood the rules when they finished, and I thought Era 3 had won, and they were like, well, it depends on time. We'll have to see. It depends on how. Oh no, it depends on balloons. It's not time.
Hmm.
And then their balloons were popping in the in the air before the
Which
count
was
took place.
crazy.
Before the count took place, and I was like, oh, like they might not win because and they didn't. Air 4 took the win, even though they finished in third place on the time. They had the most
Hmm.
balloons of all of the teams
Hmm.
there. I'm going to go straight to Chambers. I don't remember what happened when they came back to the house, but I want to go straight to Chambers on
I
this.
went straight to Chambers in my notes.
Okay. This Chambers was all about Banana's manipulation of Josh, and it
Yes.
worked.
Yes, it did. It worked honestly too well,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
was kind of
it
disappointing.
worked. I was disappointed to see Josh. It sort of seemed like Josh reverted, took a step back a little bit as a player, in my opinion, in the game. Like he had he had every right to like he had every right to be like, hey, I owe Corey one, I owe you one. My team is doing this. Like, make it somebody else's decision. Hey, my team really wants me to do this. This is what's best for our team. We got an alliance going on, just like you have an alliance going on with Error One. This makes sense because this weekend's your alliance. We're not really working together. You haven't spoke game to me all season.
No.
It felt like he took a step back because it really felt like he gave up his agency in the winning seat, just
Yeah.
to save a relationship with Bananas that
That
I
bananas
don't.
will not actually care about.
Yeah, that like Bananas. doesn't really care about in this game. Like, let's be real. Like, Josh is a convenient ally for Bananas. Like,
Yes.
and all of these people will sort of talk about their relationships as if they're like these really deep, like important relationships. And it's like, no, you guys are coworkers on the same show. The
Yeah.
extent of your relationship is a few like funny gifts exchanged over social media and text every once in a while, like keep your head up, yeah, keep your head up, and then working together on these shows. But I don't think that like Bananas is providing that much like value in Josh's real real life outside of this.
No,
Like
I
y'all
don't
live
think
in two
Bananas
different
is
cities. Y'all are like 10 years apart. Like I doubt that he's like a real mentor to you outside of these games.
and
Um,
mentor about what?
well, I'm
Okay.
just saying that's kind of how Josh is playing it.
Yeah.
Like he betrayed a really good friend and mentor and somebody who took him under his wing, which is all true in the game. But like, I also just feel like when where friendships are concerned, like my, our friendship should be able to withstand the decisions that I have to make to put myself in the best position for my game. I feel like.
Yes, which is something I feel like I've talked about on the pod several times is for if I have a real life friendship with you outside of this, I don't think that I'm maneuvering shady, like because my real life friendship with you would matter to
Yeah.
me more than just the game. Or
Yeah.
we need to have some sort of agreement going into it, at least me.
I also just feel like I just feel like the betrayal doesn't like really hit the same on this show because you're getting sent in to like battle back. Like you're not getting sent home. It'd be one thing if my friend was just like, no, I'm taking away your opportunity to win $1 million. But like they're like, hey, I have other alliances and like unfortunately you're gonna have to
I
go
see what
fight
you
for your
mean.
place here.
Okay.
I thought it was a good move for Jenny though, and I do think that. So I want to shoot Josh some bail because I think that part of the reason that the decision really was made is because of Jenny. Jenny has a really close relationship with Bananas. I think they dated in the past. Um,
Excuse me?
yes, 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 yes. Yes, Jenny and Bananas dated in the past. They have a really good relationship. They've maintained a really good friendship, and she really is like solo dolo in this game, even on her own tribe,
She
even amongst
is.
her own team. Like she really doesn't have like many other places to turn. So it makes sense for her to not want to like risk her number one ally, like her number one and probably her only
Yes.
real male ally. Um,
In a powerful one at that. Like he's I was gonna say good, but maybe not good.
yeah,
But
I think good.
yeah.
Good is a good word because I don't think
Can I
he's.
say something incredibly problematic that you're gonna definitely gonna have to cut out?
Yeah, go ahead. Okay, what was I gonna say? Oh yes, Jenny. I do think that at some point, Jenny, you need to start trying to make other relationships outside of your team as well too,
Yeah.
because that's really what's gonna save you. Like what's really gonna save you is that when other men win elimination rounds, that they aren't going to put the target on you. And
Yeah.
you need to look out for that soon and soon. And Bananas has so many relationships. Like he has a relationship with every woman on your team as well too. So like you can believe that like that alliance really means something. But are you really sure that if it's between you and Casey and Michelle and who else is on there? Well, maybe he'll save her over Olivia. But like that's it. That's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, be for real.
Yeah.
uh, be real for real.
The
So
dynamic there.
she needs to start exploring other relationships and stop just complaining about having to be a scapegoat. Like because unfortunately, like people don't know you. You've done two challenges. Most of your challenges you did were, I mean, both of your challenges. Sorry, I said most. Both of your challenges you did were years before many of the people on your own team were even on the show. Like so,
Where is she coming from?
the UK. I forget the show. I can look it
It
up
says
real quick.
survival of the fittest. Is that right?
It has to be. I don't know because I never watched it.
That's what the wiki says. Yeah, because underneath it says
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah,
for
I've
other
never
people
seen
but Big
it.
Brother.
But yeah, that's where she's from, I guess. But she was prominent in her first season, um, in like a in the Team UK. Well, she was literally on. Was it Team UK? Yeah, it was the UK versus the US. Although there was a Turk in there as well too, and an Australian. So, but it was mostly like British people. But she's been
It's
prominent
giving British Empire, yes.
on both of her seasons as part of like the Team UK alliance, which we don't really have a lot of those people anymore. I know Kyle went off and had a baby, but it's, I mean, it's best that he's not here. I really dislike him. But like a lot of those other people were really good. Like
Hmm.
Rogan, Joss, who else?
Okay.
Georgia. I really like Georgia. Georgia looked great in her first challenge out, and we just haven't seen her again. I would like to have her back. But yeah. Then they go to the bar. The only thing I wrote about this is old heads getting philosophical at the bar when when Brad and Derek are talking about,
That is perfect.
I've been good to the game. I just hope the game is good to
Good
me,
to
and
me.
got to go out there and leave it all out on the field. And I gave my heart to this. I'm like, go home. Like, you have children. Like,
It was 100% giving old heads at the bar, and honestly, I lived for it. It was a whole, to quote our Love is Blind episode, a mile wide and an inch deep,
yeah.
just
And they thought they
babbling.
were spitting. Like, they were like,
Yes.
oh, the hoes are gonna love this.
Oh, I love them so much.
Then we get. I don't think we see the conversation, but Bananas does go and talk to Michelle about
We do see a
her.
significant part of that conversation.
Okay, did we? Okay.
Yes, because that's how I was. That's
Because
my
what I remembered
bananas
is
is lying.
because what I remember is Olivia saying like Banana said verbatim this, and I don't think we saw that, and I don't even think we saw Olivia being around when they were talking. But I do remember Banana saying to Michelle like, I want you to be careful, and just do your due diligence. Da, 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 da.
We see enough to know that bananas is lying later
Yes.
on.
Well, no, I've never bought Bananas. Like Bananas always lying. Let's be real.
No, but I mean,
Um.
like in the footage of the show, like we know enough to know that to know
Okay.
definitively that bananas is
What do you
lying.
think? What do you think of this? But essentially, what is happening is, audience Bananas warns Michelle to be careful about her relationship with Devin because he believes that Devin, or he wants her to just be diligent that Devin may be using her
For
for
gameplay.
gameplay to advance
Hmm.
himself in the game and might not really like her. Now Michelle has a history of, just like Brad, who's never going to be too lonely on one of these shows. Michelle is never going to be too
Ah,
lonely on one of these shows. So she gets around, she gets down, she don't play. So Michelle stayed with a little showmance, with a little reality TV
hmm.
boo that doesn't work out. Like literally, even last year she was with a guy who was like had a girlfriend like back home and was like on camera talking to his girlfriend and making kissy faces and doing all of that. So she has been burned. Like when Bananas is utilizing like is preying on a real fear that I would
Okay.
imagine that Michelle would have. Like, and that reality TV star is not the only reality TV star that we've seen Michelle like she was burned in a relationship with a former Survivor player as well too, and on other seasons of the challenge as well too. So this was like kind of gross. That I think this was entirely gameplay from Bananas, and the fact that he was willing to do that to like someone who's
Oops.
like an actual personal friend, a little bit gross, a little funny, but a little bit gross.
Now that you give me the background, I would agree that that's definitely gross because he is framing it as, hey, we are real friends outside of this, and I'm protecting you, or I want you to be careful. I want you to be careful. You don't actually want her to be careful. You
Yeah,
don't care.
yeah, you don't care. Um, really crazy. Um,
I don't like that.
I just wrote classic Bananas gaslighting, and it was like it wasn't even like him warning her. Like that was like weird. It was the like blatant like argument that he was having with her. Like, no, I never said those things.
Yeah.
Like, how did you take that conversation and misconstrue it to this? And I don't remember the original conversation like from the episode, but I was like, no, you definitely said those. And then Olivia pops up and goes, no, he definitely said those things. He said verbatim, Devin
Yes.
is using
We've
you for
seen it.
gameplay. You can't trust him. Um, that was. I hope Michelle watches this and knows like that's not your friend. Like,
You know, well, that's actually very fair because he clearly has other motivations with that.
yeah, he gets like this. Well, oh, so this is what I did want to discuss when I say classic Bananas gaslight. Bananas has a way of doing things to people while accusing them of being like there's the conversation he has with Devin. He's like, just be real, bro, you're coming after me at some point in the game. And I was like, yeah, but that point isn't right now. And also, you're only saying
Mm-hmm.
that because you know that you will be gunning for Devin at some point in the game.
He says the quiet part out loud.
And he does this a lot of the time to give himself cover. This is why, like, I feel like the when he stole the money from Sarah, like it was low key worse than her. It was not low key. It was worse than her betraying him on Battle of the Sexes too, or I mean Battle of Exes, because his justification for that over the years has always been like, oh well, as soon as they announced that little twist, Sarah just kept asking me about the money, and I knew she was planning on stealing it from me anyway, so I didn't want to tell her because I didn't want her to just like, what was going to stop her from just like not finishing the race, and so neither of us get money. And I was like, that just shows where you were at, bro. Like, because
Yes. He's setting up the narrative ahead of his
if you
behavior.
were planning on stealing the money, you could have told her that. Yeah, no, I'm not planning on splitting it with you. Now, you can, because she has two options, and you can quit, and neither of us get anything, or because the challenge, the finals were set up in a way that like, there were stations, and you and your partner had to do stuff. You were working together, but you were also competing against each other, and whoever did it the fastest, like all of your cumulative time from each station would be added up. Whoever had the fastest cumulative time in the partnership would decide whether to split the $1 million at the end,
Oh, okay. I see what you
or
mean.
to take it all home for themselves.
Oh
And
my.
he took the whole pot and decided not to split it. And his
I
his
would never forgive
and his
somebody.
defense of that has always been that like, well, she was going to do it for me anyway. Why should I trust her? She betrayed me just on our previous season. Yeah, she betrayed. Sorry. Yeah, she betrayed you in the game within the parameters of the game. This was like the first time anything like that had ever happened on the show, with him stealing the money. And she apologized for it. You guys were partners for this season. She helped you win. You admitted that prior to you learning that this twist was coming. You were like, yeah, I wouldn't be here in this position if it wasn't for Sarah. At that point, and you also like spoke to her as if you let that stuff go that had happened the previous season. Um, and this is like every accusation, just keep this in mind as you watch the rest of the season. Every
Mm.
accusation you hear from Bananas is a confession of his motives and where his head space is at. This is really why I don't like him, because he is like, the gaslighting is just disgusting all the time.
I'm interested to see what you think about that in episode 7 when we get there.
Okay. Yeah. So let's get to the elimination round for this episode, which is
To the
called
point.
To the Point. You want to explain the rules?
Oh my gosh.
Okay. I can take it
Yeah.
if you ain't got it.
No, I remember what it is. Yes, because I remember John A about it. So it was a wall of spikes, very scary spikes, giving very medieval. And you had like those like old, not old, well, I'm older, but like those like early 2000s dodgeballs that were like just straight up foam.
Mhm.
And so you had to throw balls to, I think it was a time challenge, wasn't it? Yeah, because you had to run a clock.
Oh no, it
Um,
was a score.
it was a score, sorry, yes.
Yeah.
And so you had to throw the balls onto the spikes and get them to stick in order for you to get a point,
Yeah.
which I thought was like a little, like I was very skeptical at first that it would work at all. I mean, I know technically they like test these games out, but I was kind of like, what happens if nobody gets any balls?
Mhm. You just
But it didn't.
reset. You'd
It
reset. They probably reset with like half the balls or whatever, so the match goes by quicker. So
yeah.
essentially, like, they would throw the balls at the spiked wall on the behind their opponent, and if it, like Maddie said, if it stuck, they got a point. If it missed but landed in a certain area, it was out of bounds. If it missed and rolled back into like beyond this certain rope, it was still inbound, so you could like
Yeah.
technically pick it up again, or your opponent could pick it up again and try to throw it. So the guys
So
went
part of the
first.
strategy becomes actually not even trying to get all of the balls onto the spikes, but just getting them out of bounds.
Yeah, just if you're up, like, which is what we saw in both matches, is that
Mm-hmm.
once someone got up, instead of continuing to like try to get more balls, which like she said, it was difficult to do anyway. They would just play defense and try to block their opponent from scoring any points.
Yeah.
And we saw the guys go first, and we saw Brad just launching with one hand, which is really not a good strategy to do, especially with uh balls that are that large with one arm, because you can't be like accurate. And we saw Corey, which what I would do. Yeah, like chest pass or just like a
Trespassing.
overhead pass going like straight overhead for depending on your height, right? Like for the spikes that were like right above your head, I think you could get more power and accuracy control throwing this way or this way um
Absolutely.
than what Brad was doing, which he was trying to throw it like a baseball. And he
I
was
have a
slinging
hypothetical
those things
question for
to
you.
the huh?
I have a hypothetical question for you as a sports girly.
Yeah, go ahead.
So obviously, at least to me, chess passing is obviously basically only basketball or maybe rugby. I don't know, but do you think like somebody who does that, like I don't know who the if there is a best chess passer in the NBA or in the MNBA or the WNBA, but do you think like somebody who actually does this like for a job would just like nail ball after ball after ball?
Oh, like somebody who plays a lot of basketball.
Like a professional,
I
particularly.
yeah, no, I think you can even like a D1 athlete. It would depend on the player, but I still don't. I think no, because the ball isn't like behaving, and the ball didn't seem to be behaving in the way that I would expect it to. They were also all different size, and different weight. It looks like. I think Corey mentioned that at some point, and then you could even see that
Oh, I
some of
didn't
them were
notice
were
that.
bigger and smaller.
I
I
didn't
don't know
notice
what
that
the
at
weight
all.
was, but the material of the ball, like if it was a regular basketball, I think it would have been easier to get those to like pop and stick onto a spike. The
Yeah.
foam material of that just made it hard, so it was a bit of a crapshoot. I
Okay.
think a basketball player, like even like a college basketball player, would have been more accurate than any of the people that we saw competing tonight. But
Yeah.
I don't know that they would have gotten more points because it seems sort of
Mm.
like a crapshoot to actually get the spike to penetrate the ball. Um,
That's okay.
yeah,
That's what
like
I wanted to
like
know.
I think I would have been really accurate at like which Rachel actually was too. Like she just stopped shooting after I mean she stopped like tossing after a certain point. And Rachel has a background I think more extensively than Corey playing basketball, right?
Hmm.
So she was very accurate on like hitting the tip of the spikes, but just not getting them to penetrate.
Yeah.
Because like there were several, I don't know if you saw this, there were a few of them where like in the slow mo you will see somebody throw a ball and it would like hit the spike, and then the entire foam like that
With
would like disintegrate and just like bust up. So like the ball like it would just
hmm
like penetrate the foam and break it off, and it wouldn't get the ball to stick on. So
Yes, that's how
I
I knew
think
it was those old fashioned dodgeballs from the early 2000s.
yeah, so I think it was the ball. Like I think if they had used like a basketball, um yeah, like you because I've popped basketballs on sidewalks on sidewalk rock before. Like I
Oh, you're
mean
still
not
strong.
not
Oh, never
intentionally.
mind. Sorry.
Not intentionally, but like, you get like an old basketball or something,
Hmm.
maybe like an old basketball that you've played with outdoors like a little bit, like, and maybe if it's like
Hmm.
overpumped or something, you can like hit it on something and it just like pops. You could penetrate it with like a pen if you really wanted to.
Oh my
Uh,
God. I did write I hate this game.
you really, I like this game.
I didn't like it.
I didn't like that everybody seemed to be bad at it, but I feel like this is like a good little challenge game that like nobody would really prepare for, so it sort of evens the playing field. Like the winner isn't clear. Like you're like if you are rooting for someone, you're like kind of nervous for them because you're like, dang, this might not go their way.
Yes.
And this
It was
isn't a skill
truly
that
a
I'm sure that they have.
challenge.
Yeah, it was like yeah, for real.
Yes.
But Corey beats Brad. Um, Not much to say there. I think Brad had a bad technique, but he was also unlucky. Like it just doesn't. It didn't seem like the sort of thing
Arrowwood
that
is
you could.
notoriously unlucky.
Yeah, you can. It didn't seem like a thing that you could produce consistent results from. Like
Yeah.
I feel like you couldn't like most games like this that happen in the challenge is like, oh my god, like who's gonna be good at it? Usually somebody puts together a strategy after like a few tries, and they toss like 6 or 7 balls and they go, oh, the ball is spinning this way. Like this is okay. If I do this,
Yeah.
it'll hit it. Even the people that did good, like Rachel did the best, and she only scored 5 points.
Yeah.
Um,
That's why my initial worry was like, what happens if nobody scores any points? Because the first time I saw that stuffing come out of the ball, I was like, oh no.
and then Rachel beat John A. And John A. was annoyed with Jordan's coaching, but you know,
Hmm. I
John A.
wrote
needed to
I
go home because the Air One had already lost a player, and yeah, it's sad.
I wrote I'm not gonna miss John A.
I'm not either. Like I really have liked John A. on All Stars. I think like she'd raised her profile because like her like legacy quote unquote prior to her wins on All Stars wasn't much. Like she was like bottom mid tier challengers like overall. And I think she raised her pro. She did 4 seasons of All Stars. Yeah, and went to the finals on the first one, and then won the next two. Um, and it raised her profile like enough that like she got the opportunity to do this. But I think
Mhm.
like she just her abilities just her political skill just doesn't like translate
No.
well to the challenge proper because that's never been the type of player that she was. Um,
No.
I expected her to
She'd
do a
just be
little bit
yapping.
better. I expected her to do a little bit better, but like her refusal to like volunteer, um, which it is a smart move depending on where you are. But when you have a whole team that's bought in, for the sake of just like team cohesion and maintaining trust with your people, just volunteer. Like y'all might win
Yeah.
anyway, or y'all might not get. Y'all are winning. Y'all are in this major alliance between multiple areas. I mean, if any other man had been, or if any other woman had been in this week from era one, other than
Yeah.
Jenny or anybody else other than Josh, or right, like John A probably doesn't end up getting voted down. Like Johnny and Corey probably don't end up getting voted down anyway. Just volunteer, keep the peace on your team, and then now you get to take three trips off because now the other 3 women are gonna go volunteer over and
Yeah.
over again. Like, do what you gotta do. Call it a
I
day. Move
just,
on.
yeah, she was not, I just don't think she was good at this. And I am not going to miss her.
Okay,
And that is, well, and then the
we gotta
only
talk about the
thing,
targets
yeah, oh,
after
that
this.
is. The only thing that that I have left is that I wasn't clear before this episode if you could pick somebody who had just been a target. Um, like if you were target week 2, could you be a target week 3? And they cleared that up for me, which is like, no, you can't.
Yeah, no, you can't. Other than in the case of era one, where they're gonna find themselves.
No, my
Um,
babies.
So the targets for episode 7, not that it matters, are uh, Tina and Darrell from Era 1. Tina is the
Mm-hmm.
only woman that would have been eligible to take the target
Mm-hmm.
since Rachel just competed. And then Aviv and Nehemiah. Corey chooses Aviv because she's the only woman on that team that he just doesn't know.
Mm-hmm.
And he couldn't choose Laurel. So that was part of the reason as well too. Um, Rachel chose
Also, I'm
Nehemiah.
side
Rachel
note,
chose
I'm
Nehemiah because
very
oh, sorry.
annoyed that there's like not really any fallout for Laurel's behavior, but it's fine.
I think all the people who would like have an issue with it just are already and were already and just are going to continue staying clear of Laurel. Like I
But
think
I mean, like within the game itself, I feel like there's like
yeah, that's what
no,
I'm saying. Like those people are just staying clear of her, and those people didn't have the power to throw her in. Like we saw Nehemiah immediately put a target on her right after he won last week, and that it was, and he said that specifically, like I'm doing this because of the issue that took place with Laura and Cara, and I think it'd be better for our team if she was gone. Like, so the people who would have a problem with how she behaved or carried herself are staying clear of her socially, and they haven't
yeah.
had the power politically in the game to target her in any meaningful way. So Rachel chooses Nehemiah from Era 2 because she's not going to choose either of her gay BFFs.
The gays stick together.
Naya takes it. She volunteers. Jordan takes it from Era 3. He volunteers. Michelle volunteers finally because she feels like she has a lineup that she can be. And when she said this, I was like, I don't know about that one, sister. But anyway,
Can I
Kylan,
say something
yeah, go ahead.
logistically? I don't think it's fair. I mean, I know how numbers work, but I actually kind of feel like it advantages Era 4 that they always go in the same order picking targets, because then Era 4, not that they get to like huddle and discuss, but we see it with Josh and CT.
Yeah.
CT volunteers and then Josh doesn't because he knows CT is going to be there. And I just feel like that disadvantages Era 1 and completely advantages Era 4.
Yes, but if you win the elimination round, it doesn't matter. Era 1 is losing because they're
True.
losing the
Yeah.
elimination round. Like Michelle goes in. Like I mean, CT was like a huge threat, and everybody was scared to go against him, and he still went home. So,
Yeah, that's fair.
um, and he went home to a player that he has a much better legacy
Not
than,
yet.
that he's much stronger than historically. MVPs and LVPs, which we actually skipped for episode 5, and I didn't think about it until we finished recording, and I was like,
Oh,
dang.
that's fine.
So, who was your MVP episode 6?
Um, I think my MVP is my MVP is Jenny, just because I think that she's so
Oh,
cute.
okay. Yeah.
She's just so cute. I love her.
Mine
And
was
yes,
Rachel.
fair enough. What about your
Rachel
LVP?
owned. LVP.
Johnny?
No. I'm gonna say bananas. I was gonna say Laurel, but Laurel wasn't really in the episode. I'm gonna say
I mean,
other than the
Laurel is
redheaded stepchild comment, or the not stepchild, as she said, child with a red head talking about Kara.
redhead children, yes. I would just like to say that Laurel's always at the bottom of my spirit emotionally.
No, it
But
was
my
bananas. You can how you do that to your homegirl?
yeah, my LVP would probably be bananas then.
All right, season episode 7. Trust in your era. Um, when we start off here with a birthday celebration for Devin.
I thought the birthday was so funny.
Yeah. Oh
I
yeah,
liked,
I
yeah.
forgot about what is it? Cherry and
I don't know what that was, but that scared me a
the
little bit.
what?
The
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 Scrippers?
shots, the shots
Oh
of
yeah,
the butt cheeks,
I
too
looked
much.
away. Hairy
I was
cheeks.
scared. I was scared. The hairy
Uh,
cheeks scared me.
I didn't write anything else about this before the challenge, so I got right into the challenge on this episode.
I just said Cara Marie's dragon stand up was funny. And then I also wrote people be saying a lot of nothing when they were like doing the camera zoom back and forth between like people strategizing. I was like, people
Yeah,
are just saying a lot of nothing.
yeah. They were also all probably drunk too at that time.
Also true. Leap of
Um,
faith, darling.
leap of faith. Do you have these rules?
Okay, yes. So I didn't write them down, but let's see if I can free recall them. So well, in order, you had to.
This was needlessly convoluted, I must say. Like the fact that they had the random draw of players that would jump instead of just having
Oh,
teams like
yes.
choose who they would have to jump, like have jump and who to have on the puzzle. It was like kind of crazy. Like I understand they probably did it because they wanted to like give Era One like a fighting chance. But like y'all know they ain't winning nothing. Like stop playing with it. Like,
Oh, damn.
although they didn't exactly lose, but like they still not winning.
I
Like
also just feel like the grab bag that TJ was pulling from was not an effective randomization tool, but that's fine. So they were up on a very, very tall building on a helipad, a building that I'm almost entirely sure has been shot as B-roll for Iron Man's tower for the Marvel movies. And they were on the helipad, and you were obviously hooked up and harnessed and all that jazz. And there were flags, and you had to run, and you had to like jump and catch a flag, and then fall a lot of distance, it feels like, and then get hauled up by your teammates, which is where people run into things. And then everybody has to do that. There were rules that went with particular flags. The little mini flag was like a deduction in time, or not a penalty. What's the opposite of a penalty? A reward? I don't know.
an advantage, a reward,
Thank you,
a
advantage.
credit.
A credit even, a time credit. And then you like had to once the flags were all gotten, then you had to like put together a puzzle. And
Yeah.
whoever did it in the least amount of time
Yeah, so if you
wins.
drop the flag, miss the flag, or grab two, you got either 30 seconds, 2 minutes, or 5 minutes as a penalty. And then if you grabbed a red flag in addition to the color flag that you were supposed to grab for your team, you got a 3-minute advantage. So you got 3 minutes taken off of your final time as a team. And there was only one red flag for each team to grab. So you, at worst you could add 5 minutes to your time, or at best you could gain 3 minutes. I wish there had been multiple red flags, because then I wish multiple people on each team were incentivized to try to like do the multitask. I think we would have seen more fails from the other era.
Oh, like if the reward flag was up there every time.
Yeah, like I wish there was an
Yeah.
opportunity to grab the
Because it
red
gets
flag each time.
easier once the other flags are
Yeah.
gone. It
Yeah.
just gets easier because you only have to aim for one thing.
All right, so
The first thing I said, and here's where I immediately don't participate. I don't
This
give
looks
a
like
flying shit.
fun.
Oh my God, no. Every other challenge, maybe except for the eating one, I've been like, okay, I could see myself doing that for money. This? No.
Really? I would do that
Oh
for
my
free.
God.
Like if that
I
was
bet
like
you
just like
would.
an attraction like on vacation, I'd be there. Yeah.
I would have literally shit my pants. I'm sorry to say it.
Don't you
I
watch, do you watch horror movies?
Not on purpose.
Okay. Cause I'm like really, really scared of like horror and gore. But like
Oh.
stuff like this, I like the adrenaline like kind of things, like roller
Oh, we're the
coasters and
exact
heights
opposite.
and water sports and all that type of stuff. Like I'm into that.
Oh, we are literally the exact opposite, which I think I already knew. A horror movie will not even raise my blood pressure, but the idea of jumping off of anything tall, absolutely not. I hate roller coasters.
Like it doesn't even have to be a horror movie. Like a lot of like I could be watching like an action film and then there's just like a scene where they're walking through like a dark area and I'm instantly like heart
Oh,
racing, like hiding my
I
eyes,
love
like
that
yeah.
about you.
Ah. I
I feel
like
like that's like Mariama being soft.
I don't know if it's a soft thing. Like I just like I didn't watch a lot. I have a sensitivity to it because I didn't watch a lot of that stuff growing up.
Oh, well, I watched a lot of it, so I was like in middle school watching like True Blood. I should
Like
not
I
have
was
been, but
playing this week. I've been oh god. Speaking of which, I should if you play video games, I should have a platinum for Mafia 3 Definitive Edition, but I don't because one of the trophies is glitched and I got it, but it didn't pop. But I've been playing Mafia over this entire week and so I've previously beaten the game, but I played through all of the DLC campaigns to get the
Mhm.
trophies and then I went through another playthrough of the main game to get trophies. And there's one of the one of the DLCs is where you basically like play and to take down this cult. It is the scariest thing in gaming, like to me. And I haven't, and Mafia isn't even like a horror game. Oh, we got to talk about Mafia offline. It's good, but like
Okay.
you like, but there's like a point where you're going through this like Mardi Gras because it's set in New Orleans. You're going through this like Mardi Gras warehouse, and you know it's like all the masks, and you have to go through with like a black light, and like it like all the masks like light up, and they're super scary. And then there's a point where you like trigger like a game action, and like a piece of signage like falls down. It's like supposed to be a jump scare. It's like the mildest jump scare in like games because there's games like Five Nights at Freddy's that are like
Yeah.
legitimately scary,
Jump scares, yeah.
and that scared me. I like paused the game through the controller.
Oh
I was
my
shook. But like the
gosh.
cult stuff was like really because you're going through like their dungeon and like going through like their little like ritual spaces and their altar spaces and they're like sacrificing people and all
Okay.
type of nonsense. And so you're like at the end of that particular mission, you get to a point where like four cult members are around reading their cultic stuff and they're sacrificing a person and they're and you have to like investigate so you have to like kill them and then investigate the scene. I hated it anytime I had to go investigate a scene with those cults. I hated all of those missions. I was just like powering through like trying to like quickly get all the
Oh,
tasks done.
I love that
Very
for
scary,
you.
very terrifying. Also, just driving around in that game, like down in the bayou and stuff, also very terrifying. Like, Mafia is,
Down in the bayou is
it's very
crazy.
terrifying. It's a very terrifying game.
I love
Um,
this. I love this for
but
you.
let's move on.
Yes, ma'am.
So I wrote error 3 and error 2 smoked it. I think this means that they were good. That's not a phrase that I use ever, so I don't know
I
why
was
I
like
wrote
that. Oh, she's trying something new. I just wrote Michelle, shut up.
I said Air Force struggled. Tina got a 5 minute penalty. That was really like
Ugh, that
the
crushed me.
the two things. So it was like, okay, who's gonna be in last? Because Air Force struggled to pull Josh up, and it seemed like they lost a lot of time. But then you're like, okay, they're obviously the worst. Like, all
Mhm.
right, every other era just sort of has to like be able to pull their members up in some timely fashion, and they're probably gonna be good because it's not a hard puzzle. And then Tina got a penalty, and I was really scared for her, but
I'm
their
so scared.
team didn't lose. Era 4 was
No,
actually
I
close.
wrote yes, Era 4 losers finally.
Yeah.
And then for some reason I wrote Me Too, Naya. I don't know what she was talking about. Why I wrote that. And then I also wrote Bananas, why are you so mad at Ryan?
I know I agree with Bananas here. Like Ryan is also another one of those players that I feel like his appearance on All Stars is the reason he got tapped for this, like from his era of all the men that played the game. Ryan doesn't have a very like good challenge career. Like he's always a
Mm,
likable, like fun character that brings like levity to the season. But he's not like ever been a serious competitor, and he's always. I think he says this at some point in the episode. He's always been expendable as a player. Like he's someone
mm,
who people might align with, to have numbers, and as long as like they're able to control the game, he's fine. But like as soon as like their alliance has to make a decision, he's like usually one of the more expendable members because he really just isn't like a good challenger.
okay.
That being said, though, I'm not mad at Ryan. If you have relationships, I'm not mad at Derek either. If you have relationships and women on every other team that are not gonna choose you and they're just gonna keep kicking it back and forth between Nehemiah and Bananas, oh well. Because like he also said, like Derek correctly said, hey,
Mm-hmm.
Ryan and I have been expendable on these shows for a very very long time, and typically it's people like Bananas and Laurel who are running the game and
Mm-hmm.
and booting us or throwing us into eliminations over and over again. And now
Mm-hmm.
we have an opportunity where those tables are turned. Like he might be
Mm-hmm.
correct, and I think Bananas is correct. I don't think it really matters. Like that's the game. Sometimes because you wouldn't be complaining about it if you had women on the other eras that were willing to save you every time, and like you
Absolutely.
wouldn't be volunteering, just like we saw Devin. Like Devin comes from the school of bananas. Like low key, as much as he tries to pretend like he's the anti bananas, like they're kind of the same player in a lot of ways. Devin honors a lot more of the deals that he makes, but like they're 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 kind of the same player in the way that they kind of look out on the game. And Devin has become
Absolutely.
more like bananas the longer he's played the game as well too, because I think he likes that style of play. I think he admires it. You don't get to complain here, bananas. This is what you did for 15 seasons straight. You don't get to be mad at nobody for
Ooh.
taking advantage of having the numbers on their side in the house. So, oh
Thank you,
well.
Lou. Anything else about this? I just wrote Rachel is so pretty, and then I just wrote that Aviv dangling was very funny to me because how tiny she
Aviv
is.
Jump was the highlight of the season. I think I'm going
Mm.
to change the thumbnail for the podcast. I think for this episode, it's going to be Aviv leaping off the building. Like, I
Little
never
Tim
doubted
Tim
her,
girl,
too,
I
by the
love
way. I want the
her.
record to show. They were like, she's so short. I was like, she's going to make it. She's an athlete.
I mean, when they were like, "Oh, she's so short," and then she said she was 5 feet, I was like, "Oh, that's
Yeah,
not
that's
as
because
bad as I."
you're short. 5 feet is very short.
Okay, let's move on to
Do
the
you know what
party.
a 5 foot woman would look like standing next to me? And I'm not even tall. I'm 5'6".
I'm 5'1". I know what I look like standing next to you. Excuse me? What's that face? You think I'm under 5'1"? What do you think I am?
4'11.5".
First of all, crazy
No, let's
that you
let's
think
give you
I'm
4'11"
4'11".
and 6 inch. four 4'11".
I have not been 4'11" since I was
Four
a
11 and a
child.
half, and
You're crazy for this. I am documented not 4'11", no shoes on.
uh,
Okay, we're moving on.
yeah, we are. So,
You're rude.
Lou, you want anything else, or we're gonna get to the elimination round?
I just said in the partying category that I loved the black people giggling together. And then that I originally, because obviously I take my notes in order of things appearing. I wrote Michelle seemed obsessed with Devin. Um, and then I feel like Devin completely balanced that out during the elimination where he was like, "I'm basically in love with Michelle and I don't want to be without her." And I was like, "Oh, okay."
I don't care about any of this. I don't care about Devin nor Michelle nor their
We
love
gotta talk about
relationship.
Chambers.
Oh yeah, what happened there?
I just wrote everyone keeps bringing up their trauma, which bothered me about Johnny too. And then Tina,
Johnny
I
wasn't in
love
this episode.
no,
Oh,
but
okay.
bothered me about you, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and then I wrote Tina, I love you, and then I wrote Kylan was not slick with that little kiss at the end of Chambers.
Yeah,
To
I was
I
like,
was like, you're
that's
so
calculated.
stupid.
Kyla knew what he was doing. He's like, right,
Exactly.
just before you make your decision, I'm gonna leave you with something to think about.
I was like, you're not slick at all. And then I don't have anything. Well, I wrote Ryan is right about bananas, and then I wrote Um, then I wrote Tina, I love you again. And then we get to
I feel like Tina was low key
Boxter-Phobia.
doing too much, like, but I get it. Like,
She's pissed.
I understand why you're upset, but why should anybody torpedo their game to ensure your safety? Because, and like Rachel kind of seemed to clock it at the end. Because I feel like what Tina was doing is going, we're so bad, like take care of us, we'll get your back on the next
Yeah,
time. It's
Rachel
like,
does clock
yeah,
it.
but like you're saying you'll have their backs, but you don't have power. You've never held power in the game to
Yeah.
actually repay any favors. Why would I jeopardize an alliance with powerful people that could actually protect me in the future for a promise that you haven't been able to keep yet? You haven't even been able to win. You can't keep that promise to yourself. You can't help yourself out in the future. Like, why would I think you're gonna help me out?
Again, to the listeners,
Right?
I am grimacing.
The only way that you can deal in power in that type of way in the game is to prove that you can earn and keep power, and Era One hasn't proven that. I don't think anybody owes it to them to like make sure to save Era One because they're the underdogs. Like,
Hmm.
we don't care. Like,
That's fair. Even though I will say that I don't
I don't
like.
want to see them go completely extinct. Like,
Thank you.
I hope they can make something shake. I also hope we can organize these games in a way, because I do think that, like, once Era One got down in numbers by two players to the some of the other teams, it's been really hard for them to compete in these challenges. Like, we're not
Yeah.
adjusting these challenges in a way, and typically that wouldn't matter because we our large team competitions are usually like two teams or even like three teams. Like, four teams is, I think this might be the first time that we've done four teams. Did we do four teams on
Hmm.
Cutthroat? I'm not sure. But yeah, and like the fact that it is four teams and the teams are so small, like 10 players, like on a challenge, that's a small team. Um, well, realistically, you're not even really thinking about 10 players. You're thinking about men and women. So it's five
Yeah.
women, right? Because they're going in eliminations as men, as a male elimination and a female elimination. Um, because of that, I think that, like, we really needed to adjust these more. Like, even the balloon grabbing competition. If I have less players, I have to do more. Like, right? Like,
Yeah, I don't
by
think they
like
adjust.
each team can do. I have to do more trips to, I'm gonna tire out quicker, right? Because
Yeah.
you're sending two. I think you could send two players at a time, or whatever the case was. But like, if I have 8 people on my team, right, I can go as fast as I want to go through this obstacle because I know I'm gonna rest for a little bit. Whereas Era Three only had 6 people, right?
Yeah.
I don't have as much rest.
Yeah.
Whatever. So I just think we need to, like, organize these in a different way. So I'd rather just kind of see, like, I wish next week, I don't know because it's already filmed, but like I wish next week we would see like a big, maybe like even like a mini finals with like a long distance run or a row or something in there, and then some stations where they could benefit from being like a smaller team, and
Yeah.
just to get some balance in the game. Like, if I'm a producer, I'm rigging the next two or three challenges to make sure Era One wins, keeps their numbers, and some of these other teams dwindle down. Because yeah, like, two
Yeah.
going against 7 is crazy work. Like,
It doesn't make any
yeah,
sense.
it's
And I don't
terrible.
like all the talk. Like everyone has, like when Naya and Jordan like came into Era One to like tell them that they were going to
I hate
be.
that. I hate that. Tell them at the challenge. Like, I mean, at the
Oh yeah.
elimination. Like, just kind of corny.
But I was like, this is like, and everyone started talking about like maybe we could wipe Era One out. Maybe we could wipe Era One out. I was like, oh my god, like, do we
Didn't
really want to do that for
Who
the
said that?
balance
I
of the
think
game?
Naya's first said that. She was like, maybe it just makes more sense to, like, clean y'all out, which was funny. Um,
And Boxter-Phobia, I wrote boo Michelle, boo Kyland, and then I wrote shut up Laurel, and that's it.
yeah, I think though, I'm trying to think, like, when we had
I also laughed at the One Eye Warrior moment too.
one, oh yeah, we were gonna get there when we spoke about the we haven't even spoken about the elimination year yet.
That's what I
So,
said. I only have four things written for Boxter-Phobia.
oh, okay, sorry, I wasn't listening. Boxter-Phobia. So they have to essentially. I love this elimination. I tried to.
Really?
Yeah, I love this elimination. I love these types of eliminations. I would crush this. One, the math was
I think you would
easy.
crush it.
One, the math was easy. I was surprised. I didn't look at the girls' numbers, but I think they had the exact same numbers. I think like maybe their first number was different because I did like they kept showing it too fast. I wish they would have just left it up so I could do the math, but I didn't want to pause. I was too
Oh,
lazy.
that's what I was gonna say to you earlier. Oh, sorry, y'all. This is for episode 6. That would have the balloons would have been a perfect moment for the Chiron that you have been talking about, like in terms of keeping track, like to the audience of
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah,
what you
yeah.
see.
Yeah, all of these you can do it with all of these things. You could they even with the time challenge, like just put a leaderboard after each team goes, just go error 4 39 minutes and 16 seconds. Error 3 whoever went next, okay, 37 minutes. We know they're
Hmm.
faster. And then Tina gets a 5-minute penalty when she's at like 23 minutes, right? And then you don't even need to tell us how long it takes her to complete the rest of the season until you announce the winner, and then you can show like all the times after you announce, so we can
Yes.
authenticate it. Because I think y'all just be lying sometimes. Like I'm
Oh,
not even gonna
after
lie.
the Jax moment,
Yeah,
and then there was something else that bothered
the
me this
nails.
season. The nails, yeah.
Yeah,
The
yeah. Like
Tina.
I think sometimes y'all just lying. Like and the quick cuts in when we're doing like competitions. I want this to be like sports. Like that we're not cutting away from the running back as he's carrying the ball to look at the reaction on the sideline. The camera is following him until he scores, and then we'll go to the sideline. Why am I
Yeah.
seeing Devin's reaction and Michelle just sprint back forward? What is she doing? Show me what she's doing in that sand. Like, okay, what
Yeah.
are the numbers? Like, keep the numbers up on the screen in the elimination round so I can do the math and like authenticate. Like the
Also,
you
do they
know
have to stand there on those little platforms all that time?
yeah. Yeah, and so there have been some challenges. Like Kara and Naya had a challenge that lasted like hours. Like there have been several elimination rounds that have lasted hours because it just took that long for somebody to lose. Like it just kind of at some point became like an endurance match. But what I will say is, oh, this thing. So they have to move the poles back and forth to reveal
Mm-hmm.
these like plexiglass panels, and each panel has a number on it. And then like a that they'll have to
Mm-hmm.
do that. So it'll be like 68 plus 23 plus 15 minus 17, right? As they're going through, and they had 7 panels to get through. And then at the
Mm-hmm.
end, the kicker is that you're doing this math in your head, um, and then you get to the end to ring the buzzer, like to enter a code to ring the buzzer. But then when you flip the plate over, you realize that you have to take the number, the sum of what you just did, and then
Yeah.
multiply it by 2, and then
Yeah.
that will give you a 4-digit number because you actually start with a 3, because you actually will add up to a 3-digit number and then multiply by 2, get a 4,
Yeah.
or yeah, get a 4-digit number to complete um the to unlock the combination lock, and hit the buzzer. The buzzer was locked. This was fun. I love stuff like this.
I'm glad you had a ripper and good time. Side note, there is a severe thunderstorm happening on up here, and I keep getting distracted because it sounds like very aggressive. But go ahead.
But from this, so I did try to do this. I didn't do it for the girls, but I think their numbers. I thought everybody had different numbers, but then on the guys, it seemed like they had the exact same number. So the girls
I
may
was
have had
not
the
paying
same.
attention to the numbers at
Yeah, I
all
wasn't
because I
paying
was like,
I wasn't
no.
paying attention until the men went, because like they were showing like, oh, gate 1, gate 2, gate 3, but it was flashing so fast, and then they were cutting to confessionals and stuff that I just gave up on trying with the women, on trying to do the math. But like I think the hardest part of this, it would just be keeping the number straight in your head, because when I added it up,
Yes.
like when they showed it, like I paused it and I added it up, and I got the 760. I like I was like, wait, what am I multiplying and getting by 2? Like, and this was me like sitting at home on my couch. So I imagine if you're going 68, da 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 da. Like it was like
I would have
really,
forgot every single number.
yeah. I think the strategy. I think Kylan had the strategy. Although he almost lost, I think he had the strategy. Slow and steady, like Devin said, measure twice, cut once. Like I would literally like move everything out of the way. 68, move like, and just keep repeating that. Go, okay, plus 23. All right, 68
I
plus
would have to
23.
carve these numbers into my arm with my
Well,
fingernail.
you don't need to remember each individual number. Is really what I'm saying. Like, so like
Like if you
I,
do the math along the
yeah,
way.
like do the math along the way, but just know that you'd have to do it slowly. So 68 plus 23, okay, that's 91. Okay, 91, 91, 91, and then now it's 91 minus 7. Okay, like
I see
84,
exactly
84,
what you mean.
84,
Yes.
84. And then when you get to the end, you're just repeating 760, 760, 760, 760 until you hit times 2. So the women all both had to make multiple trips. I thought Tina was gonna win. I really wanted Tina to win.
I thought Tina was gonna win too.
I think
Can
this.
Darrell in the sand when we get there bother the shit out of me?
I, I don't think it's bad. It wouldn't be bad if he was going against anybody other than Kylan. Like Kylan is actually like a math whiz. Like Kylan is possibly the smartest person there. On this particular season, he's one of the smartest challengers in the history of the show. That's just from like a and not like really I'm talking about like mathematics and like those types of things like that type of competency. Like I don't know about his other types of intellect or intelligences. But I'm talking about academics. But
I was like, I wonder how she's gonna finish this off.
but I think like with Tina and Michelle, both of them are like not calm people, and
No.
I think it really just came down to who was able to like quiet the noise from themselves like in their head long enough to just like
Yeah.
do the math, because the math wasn't difficult even if you had to like count on your fingers. I feel like it was like one of those things that it's going to be hard for most people. Like most people are not going to be able to just like run through and like add all of those and subtract all of those numbers in their head. So you, even if you have to just like count on your fingers and like slow down, they would have both benefited greatly from that, but they couldn't do that for themselves. And, that's just kind of like their personalities. So I was
Yeah.
disappointed that Tina won, because I feel like, that Tina lost. I feel like this
And
is
Michelle.
something that she could have won if she had just been
I know.
able
I
to have
was
that.
so sad to lose Tina. So
Yeah.
sad to lose Tina.
Yeah, because one, I don't want to see Era One get decimated, and two, like Michelle, okay, like you can go home, bro. Like,
I was
um,
like, Michelle really just bothered me this episode. And I know it's the cut because it's like heavily focused on her relationship with Devin. But I was just like, oh, girl, why are we so focused on this?
The Kylan and Darrell match, though, I think
And why is it always the black people? Sorry.
Kylan Kylan volunteered. Darrell, they didn't have a choice. They're rotating. Um, Kylan gets has a reputation in this game that I don't think he's really earned. Like Kylan has like the potential to probably to be an incredible challenger, but I feel like he hasn't earned the praise that he gets. Like even going into this elimination match, they're like he's a genius, he's a this, he's a that, and I just feel like
Kylan the calculator.
he hasn't, like he's shown glimpses of like how good he can be. Like he's excelled at like individual tasks and individual like challenges or even elimination rounds. This I was like, bro, if he loses this, I'm gonna be so disappointed. Like this is like right in his wheelhouse, like
Yeah.
moving heavy things and counting. Like this is moving heavy things and doing
Why
math.
is it
Like
giving I pick things up, I put them
I
down?
pick things up, I put them down, I count on my fingers. Like I don't know, like but I think the way that like people talk about him, like the expectations that like fans, that other challengers kind of have of him, and like what his skill sets should be, he hasn't really showed that he's like quite earned all of that
Yeah.
praise yet. Like, but he has huge upside, and I think
Well,
that's
that's how I
really
feel about pretty
promising.
much everybody from Era 4. Because
No,
well, no, no. What I'm trying to say is that, like, in terms of, there's only so much longevity that you can have in Era 4 because you are Era
no,
4.
no, 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 no. Like Josh has literally done every season in Era 4. Like Josh has done more seasons than Rachel, and Rachel started this show in like
That's
season
true.
two.
That's fair. Because
Um,
that's fair. That's completely fair.
like I'm being hyperbolic, but like Josh has done like significantly more seasons than Aviv, and Aviv is an old biddy, and Aviv has significantly more upside for like challenge legacy
An old
adding
biddy.
to the story than Josh does. Like Aviv probably isn't going to be back for another like 2 or 3 years, if that, like maybe more like 10. And Josh will probably be back next season, but like Aviv still has more upside to accomplish more than than
I
Josh
wonder
does.
what I
In
kind
like,
of. Go ahead. Go ahead. I was just gonna say that I kind of. Oh my gosh, my allergies. I'm so sorry. Um,
and I say the
I
same thing about Michelle too. Like,
I kind of wonder where they go from here, to be honest.
who?
The show itself, now that we've done this
Yeah,
episode.
I'm so like I love the show. I'm very scared that we're on the brink of cancellation. Like I hope that doesn't happen, but I think like I I want them to stop casting reality TV stars. Like I think we need to go back to the OG. Let's get some fresh kids on here. Like, let's get some, you know what I'm saying, some young people on here, like early mid 20s, like never done a reality television show, aren't even like really look like we want people on here who want to like compete in the competitions. Like I want a bunch of meatheads on here that have to figure out how to do strategy. I don't want a bunch of people here
I actually
that are
love that.
trying to like game the system. I want people on here that can barely count to like 20. and
I honestly
and
love
all the
that.
and like all they really want to do is like hit each other and like play a really physical game because I think
Have they
one
done a Brain versus Brawn season?
no, we haven't done that. We've done it in a way because we've done like good guys versus badasses. So typically the badasses are the brawn and the like loud mouths that don't really think, and the good guys are like more introverted, more cerebral players that don't get into a lot of drama because it's not smart to get into drama. So we don't call it brain versus brawn, but we've had a bunch of seasons that have shooken out to basically be
Okay.
the more like intelligent, more like thoughtful players versus like the more, you know, bashful, like unapologetic, like
I want an all black people season.
you'll never get it.
I know, but
And it
I love
probably
it.
won't be that fun. Like they can't swim. Like what we gonna do?
Oh, okay.
Like
On
what
that
we gonna do? No
front,
water challenges? Like uh
on that
targets.
front.
Targets. Oh no, I was gonna say like this is the first time that I've seen Kyland look like he can fulfill some of that potential. I just
Mm,
hope he does fulfill it this season because I think at a certain point we have to stop like talking about how awesome he is and he really ain't accomplished nothing. And he's had
yeah,
several tries.
so cute.
Targets Rachel and Derek because they're the only people left from their era. Both of their teammates
My
got eliminated
family.
tonight. Then we have Kara and the other Derek, um, Avery and Corey. He's
Yeah,
also quiet Derek. And then Era
again.
4 is Jenny once again. And Theo, the one eyed warrior.
Jennifer. Oh
I
yes, he
know.
was like, I was like, oh my god. I like literally
And
was
then
like,
did you
count
see
all
him
off.
in
I
the
love you.
confessional how high that left eyebrow was sitting? I was like he's doing the eyebrow thing on purpose.
Count Olaf.
It's a not a tick, but it's like it's one of his like things. It's one of his like facial things. Like when he's like putting emphasis on something, he just got to hit that eyebrow real quick.
Like
Yeah.
he's doing it on purpose, is what you're
Yeah,
saying?
he's doing it on
Yes.
purpose.
Okay. Yeah.
It's not
It's not a
a
tick.
yeah, it's not a remnant of his like injury. And also it's the other eye. So
Ugh.
the raised brow is the left brow and the injured eye is the right eye. So
Count Olaf, I love you.
I love Theo. I've always loved Theo. I missed him. Um MVP LCP?
Oof. MVP Tina. Because I love that queen. She had to solve that puzzle by herself. And then LVP. Oh, I was about to say something diabolical that you would have to cut out.
Who's your LCP?
Um, oh, LVP. That's ever my first instinct is Laurel just because I hate her, but I just feel like bananas because he's just being so annoying to me right now.
Okay. MVP for me, Aviv for the leap. Um,
Oh yeah, my little queen.
I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the slow mo and everything. She did that. And then LVP, I want to say Devin. Absolute cornball behavior,
Oh
not just volunteering. Even if Michelle like
yeah.
chose somebody else, just hey Michelle, give it to me. It's my turn. And then she goes, nope, I'm not doing that. Yeah, like
Can I say my really problematic thing that you're gonna have to cut out?
okay, let's end the episode and we can say it. All
Okay.
right. Thank you for hanging out with us. Please check our channels for all of our challenge videos. They're compiled in the playlist. We will also have a playlist up by the time you see this for our Love is Blind recap. So stay tuned this week later on for Love is Blind episodes 4 through 6 recap. Thank you.
I'm
Have a good
quaking
day.
in my
Bye-bye.
boots.
Don't forget to like,
Bye.
comment, subscribe, and share.